spilling water on the seats? Why do these doors open so wide, and does this hatch still close although these head restraints are so high? There are more surprises than you think to the Nissan X-Trail, or Nissan Rogue as it's called on the North American market. We have it here today in the updated version, and also the new N-Trek version, how it's called in Europe, special off-roadish version. It's called Rock Creek in North America. I'm Thomas, this is Autogefühl. Let's take a closer look in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go. And here, let's start with the front. That looks really bold. Yeah, pretty cool look. Or what do you think? Tell me in the comments. This is the so-called N-Trek version, as I said, in Europe, Rock Creek in the US. Special design elements in this upper part, red contrast in the Nissan logo, and also these black inlets here. Otherwise, if you would have the normal version, they would be in vehicle color. And then the lower part also with these red contrasts. So that looks really striking, doesn't it? So the new blue color is Sukumo blue. And this one here, the new beige sand color, is Baja Storm or Coastal Dune. We have a length of 4.68 meters or 184 inches. And we have here 19-inch wheels in black. That looks fancy. The North American version would come with the real off-roadish tires with 17-inch wheels, but they don't expect obviously people to go off-roading in Europe. The Nissan Qashqai, by the way, or former Rogue Sport, is the smaller brother. This one here, the X-Trail, is the larger one. And we can see here it's also a little bit more bulky than here in the rear, to also house optional 7-seater, at least on the European market. And this one is also equipped with the so-called e-Power engine here. I'll soon explain you what that means. Also an updated rear bumper for all of these versions. Overall, they have a little bit more vehicle color in the rear. And then here, this special N-Trek or Rock Creek version also gets again the red contrast, big X-Trail lettering, and E-Force then in this case means that this is also the all-wheel drive version. And of course, we gotta talk about the drivetrain concept. So some markets still offer the 1.5 liter 3-cylinder turbo. The European market is setting all the way on the so-called e-Power concept. There's also the 1.5 liter 3-cylinder underneath here, but it does not drive the wheels. Electric motors drive the wheels, either front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, as we have it today. Then you have an electric motor, an additional one in the rear. So it's basically driving like an EV, but it's powered then still, the energy, by the combustion engine. So you have basically it behaves then like an EV in driving. At the same time, you fill it up at the gas station. That's their special concept. 8 or 7 seconds is the acceleration figure, depending on front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. And it has in both cases just a little over 200 horsepower. Let's see what consumption we can score with that one today. That's also very interesting. Now let's check out the doors. Classic door handles. I appreciate that really then. Door closing sound, nice in the front. Well, maybe a little bit nicer in the front, I gotta say that. Then inside of the doors, already here with soft touch material, so that's good. Also here soft for your elbow, for example. Classic controls here for the windows and so on. Easy to control also the side mirrors. Then hard pad plastic at the lower part here, everything. Then very interesting to know that this one here is equipped with a lamination, so acoustic windows in the front. That's nice. And then we have an updated steering wheel here, new interior, and these are the special CellCloth seats here with a nice structure. Feels very soft as well. It's a high-grade leatherette, but this one also has a very special feature for this N-Trek or Rock Creek version. And indeed, look at that here. These seats are washable. It just peels off the water there, and then you can clean it again, and that's it. And yes, the use case would be, dogs, kids, leisure, some outdoor equipment and so on, off-roading when it gets muddy. Interesting idea for sure. If you want the most breathable version, you can stick with the base version, just go for the fabric for the cloth seats. We have to see about the breathability of these ones. Nissan says that the durability, long-term durability, is the best also with these here from all the seats. Then you have a base leatherette, which is not the CellCloth, but the normal leatherette. And optional, they offer this animal skin still, but only as an option. But they have such a wide variety of choice that you don't really need it anymore. And yeah, interesting idea here with this off-road focus, definitely. And yeah, the general comfort is good. Upright seating position, menu controls also for pumping the seat up, y'all. And interesting product tip here for you today. Some new cars have an included dash cam next to their extensive camera systems. But if they don't and you want to retrofit it to your existing car, Wolfbox actually has a premium solution. The G900TriPro features a normal back mirror whenever desired, a forward dash cam to record incidents, a digital back mirror with live forward camera for the dash cam, front bumper camera, and rear bumper camera, also available in a split view. It even works well at night on all cameras, and you can watch your recorded footage on the device itself. You can also connect the camera angle that it switches according to the gear stick, so the rear view camera is turned on when you put in reverse gear. You can also adjust the image part you want to see. One camera is integrated in the device itself, then you put one camera to the front of your vehicle and one camera facing backwards, either behind the windscreen or in the rear bumper. Either install it on your own or ask your local workshop. In the video description and pinned comment, you'll find the links and discount codes for the Wolfbox G900TriPro with 3 cameras. So check out the link below. Welcome to this cockpit where we have a soft touch dashboard right here, and they have some nice materials indeed. It could be a little bit softer here at the middle console. So this is here hard pack. The decor element here in the middle part is maybe not the most expensive one, but looks quite okay. It does collect some greasy fingerprints though, although it's not high gloss black. But there's a nice illumination around the inductive charging pad, for example. And the steering wheel is pretty cool, soon more details to that. And what I like about this car is that it's not pretentious. So easy, straightforward user interface. I'll show you what I mean. Now to the cockpit and driver POV. Very interesting. First of all, new steering wheel material. It's also like softly padded underneath. This is a new high-grade leatherette that feels softer than before actually. So very cool material, and like the quality feeling is very nice. Red contrast stitches on the inside. Yet at the same time I have physical dials here, real buttons here for the cruise control on the right. On the left side, I can control the volume. Very important, when I hit this button once, comes the menu, and then I hit this button here, and I can confirm actually, and then all of the annoying beeping sounds, EU speed chime law and so on, all are deactivated. Other than that, here the digital instruments, you can click them through. They're pretty quick actually. And it also features the map from Google Maps here. Then you get an updated 12.3-inch horizontal screen, also then here with native Google Maps support and the Google built-in, so you can also then talk to Google basically, but it still also features Apple CarPlay right here. It's also nice and also quick integration. Other than that, you have, some basic functions in the infotainment. Most of the time you will do either the smartphone mirroring or use the Google inbuilt systems, and some hotkeys still, for example, for brightness and also the manual volume jog. And here my favorite feature, physical climate dial, easy to do by driving, and even cooler here, you can separately control the rear unit. So that's pretty cool, right? When you want to make it a little bit colder or hotter for the kids or something in the rear, even separate button for the heated steering wheel, for the seat heating. This is what I love about this. This is unpretentious and it's easy and simple to control. Then here in the lower part, I can put my smartphone with a cable because USB-C charging. Underneath is inductive charging, but that's not ventilated, so I would prefer the cable charging. And then here the EV button that you basically favor the EV mode, and E-pedal then for some stronger recuperation, but you can also pull it backwards here for the B mode for stronger recuperation. Cup holders, somewhat adaptive with the 2-dot adaptive design. There we go. And then we have the drive mode selection, where you, for example, also have like an eco mode, sport mode, and also an off-road mode. Here, soft touch, somewhat, could be a little bit softer, but a cool split opening with more space underneath right there. Also important to know, you can still leave fresh air in here with the real panoramic roof. It's a nice option. And when it's really, really hot, then you can also apply this shade here. And yeah, I'm also happy that we have these real physical dials for these. Oh, and by the way, here, headroom with 189, 602, still some left. Now to the rear. Difference is here in the rear I have hard plastic material in, but I mean, can't expect probably more for this segment. Also the insulation for the window is just in the front, not in the rear, but I think that's fine. Headroom is still okay with 189, 6'2". What's pretty good is that we still have enough legroom here in the front. So this is a legroom I still have in the most backward position. And this rear bench is also very flexible indeed. So look at that here. When I pull this one forward, look at the difference there. And I'm not even all the way forward yet. So you can make for much more trunk length with this one here, or then for the maximum legroom. Isofix on the outside of these seats each, and you have the very same material also in the rear. And yeah, since you sit relatively high, actually, this will probably again be good for kids. But you see, it's still okay also for adults. Here, this middle part here, by the way, you can pull down and you can directly reach through the trunk. However, this is then here thought for the cup holders, and yeah, some like this solution, some don't, because of course when you have the cup holders down, then you directly have like this opening hole right here. There we go. And not to forget, you can also change the angle here. You can make this much more upright or more leant backward. And we have a nice lower unit with separate climate control and even seat heating for the rear when the engine is powered, and 2 USB-C chargers. And what's also very cool here, look at that. The rear doors, they literally open 90 degrees. So for installing child seats and also maybe getting elderly people in and out easily, that's a very cool thing. Now to the trunk or the boot, which is at 485 liters here for the 7-seater, would be 575 for the 5-seater. I'll show you what I mean. So here, interesting that I have the bright trunk cover. Rarely see that. You can also flip the first half, and what I also thought about, look at that here. I love these details. Some felt here on top of that plastic, that it's not scratching here at the inside here. I love these details. And also that they thought about these clamps here for the seat belts if you have the 7-seater, that you can also easily move this one here backward and forward. Appreciate that really. So in the North American version, you can only get the 7-seater with a plug-in hybrid, which is based on the Outlander, so completely different vehicle. The Rogue only as the 5-seater. In Europe, this one here, the 7-seater, is an option. But let's take a look at the measurements here. There's like 1.40 meters in width. The length would be 90 centimeters or about 36 inches. Here in the front, you have some more space, but just tiny. That's the thing here. And we can soon also fold up this 7-seater version. What I first want to show to you here, I mean, 90 centimeters was normal trunk length, but then you can move these seats forward here and also incline them a little bit. Then you have massive more space in length. So that's of course very, very flexible. So then up to here is 1.17 meters or 46 inches. And when we are then here at the full length, so folded the seats around, then we're here at 1.74 meters or 68 inches. So overall very well usable. And not to forget, this has a high cutout of 80 centimeters or 31 inches. So you can see here, very square cutout. And here now, put the third seating row up. You can see the cabin trolley still fits behind that like this. And here the head restraints, they go up very, very high. This is a US regulation actually. And then look at that. I mean, can the hatch even close that way? Look at that. Let's try it and see if we break the car. So there we go. Oh, can't believe that. Wow. That's nice. Now I've set the second seating row a little bit forward that I could still sit there. And then when you reach over here, you can also slide this one forward directly. And then you can see, yeah, there's not so much space left in the third row. Also no Isofix. And there you can see, whereas headroom wouldn't be the main issue, I don't even have to try to go. I mean, it just doesn't fit there. So nothing for adults, nothing for small children, just for someone in between, basically. Let's start driving the Nissan X-Trail or Nissan Rogue here with this e-Power engine. And the interesting thing is, as I said earlier, that you're basically driving an electric car that is fueled by petrol, which is kind of unusual, definitely. But let's see if there are any advantages or disadvantages to it. Advantage, I can already tell you right now, especially when you're cruising around a little bit here, you know, rural surrounding and so on. The thing is that it is silent. Often the engine is even shut down. Sometimes when it needs more power, then again, it hops on again. And also the delivery of the power is like with an electric vehicle. You can tune it very smoothly, and you can also regenerate energy because there's also a battery, not that large though. And then you can have it in the normal D mode. You can have it in the B mode. Then you already have something like an engine brake that feels like that. Or you can also set it to the E pedal, and that is then even stronger in the regenerative braking, which would come closer to an electric vehicle. And we can soon also do some more tests when no one is behind us, how that one plays into effect. Let's take a turn right here. So there we go. Just want to be safe that no one is behind us, you know. So, and we can also check out the camera system. You also have this fake drone view from above. There we go. Yeah, it's actually also easy to, you know, ease this car in and out and so on. So, and now I can show you once again, D mode, leaving foot over throttle, nothing happens. B mode, there is regenerative braking, there's deceleration, kind of slowly, and then at some point it just kind of keeps rolling at a certain speed. So let's now compare the E pedal mode. Let's now go off the throttle. There's, we are way stronger deceleration. It's still not like with an EV that it comes to a complete standstill, but there's just a much stronger deceleration. So you can pick which mode do you prefer most. And EV mode, you can also click that if you really want to stress the electric driving, if you are approaching a neighborhood and so on. The car will always shut down the engine if possible, but here you can even more pronounce it in a way of, hey, let's do that now, actually. As I said, the material of the steering wheel is really nice, good grip, and it also has a natural feeling that it has good natural reactions to what I do on the steering wheel, and that is transported to the road. Here the road is a little bit destroyed. Yeah, these 19-inch wheels, they do get the bumps through, definitely. So the suspension is not, let's say, the most sophisticated one. And the 19-inch wheels, of course, are on the larger side. Overall, you get 17 to 20-inch. Definitely would not go to 20-inch. What you can do, of course, in the North American market, when you have then the like the smaller wheels, the 17-inch off-road tires, that will give you a softer driving feeling, definitely. We can also go to the Motorway. Let's see more about the power of this e-power system here. And of course, we can also do then a reset of the trip meter and see then what we can score there as for the consumption later on. I'll do one more acceleration before I reset the trip meter then for you, and later on we can tell you more about that. Indeed, it's very smooth driving is the cool thing here so far. Also, we have the lamination here in the windows, so that also keeps it silent already in the city. And let's see if it's even more silent than on the motorway in comparison to other vehicles, which maybe don't have the lamination here. Here, this is also what I mean when you go like, you know, stop and then go again. Then you have a very smooth power and braking and so on, if you, of course, do that. But it gives you the opportunity to drive like an electric vehicle, maybe serve as a bridge technology where you don't have all the charging infrastructure just right yet. So especially for city driving, totally makes sense. Also reduces the consumption with this whole system. Of course, the higher you go in the speed on the motorway, the less the advantage there will be for this e-power system in comparison to the normal conservative drivetrain. Let's take it that way. But it's overall very likable driving feeling. You also, in comparison to the Nissan Qashqai, don't really feel that much that the X-Trail would be the larger vehicle. Of course, they are very similar overall, and it actually still drives like a compact SUV, definitely. Yeah, maybe the one thing here, maybe you felt it was accelerating uphill now, and then the engine was going on before the engine was all the way shut down. An older Qashqai generation right there. I have to go left. I think he wants to go right. So let's see about that. Not sure what is making the... Is it here? Ah, now I found the one. Had the key on top there, and that was always doing some noises. So there we go. We get rid of the noise, then the key was flying around in here. Yeah, it was sometimes things are in hidden places here now. Bump. Yeah, I would say the suspension could use a little bit more comfort. That's maybe the only thing I would wish for here so far. Seats hold you also good up in comfort. For the very, very hot climate, I would still try to advise for the fabric seats, unless you really need these here for animals, for kids, and maybe like if you're always doing some outdoor equipment, go surfing and whatever, then of course they are very, very helpful. Here also pretty cool how it handles here in the roundabout. It's actually also fun to drive. There's some rumbling sounds from the suspension you get also from time to time when you are going through deeper potholes. Let's now hop on to the motorway. We can do a first acceleration here. Let's see, we can also go to the sport mode. There we go, and do some 50 to 100. So let's go. Oh, that's it. It was even 45 to 100 and really quick, gotta say though, like that. So you have a very quick power delivery there as well. And this is, once again, you have the instant torque from the electric motors. And that really, really helps on the motorway. And I can, oh, yeah, it's really silent. So this lamination there definitely helps. Can go back to the standard driving mode. And when the road is even now, then the suspension is also fine. It's just really in the potholes, really profiting from this lamination. And we don't have it with all cars in this segment. That's a nice feature that stands out. Yeah, maybe now you also pick it up on camera. Also when we have some transverse bumps, then the suspension is giving us some rough feeling, and also some I think the one camera already dropped out because of the heat. Yeah, very hot outside today. So transverse bumps giving us some, not that pleasant feeling in the interior, and also like the noises, like the rumbling noises, that's also happening with transverse bumps or potholes. So this suspension thing, it's not that it would be super bad or something, just noting what could be improved and what is actually fine as it is right here. Continuing here on the motorway, and have a safe feeling for the car. Once again, I said you have a very good steering setup like that. And also we do some lane change here now. Car doesn't shake up or something, so a very solid appearance. Driving now 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour. For many countries, a typical motorway speed. Not especially fast for Germany, of course, but we are here in Spain today, close to the Barcelona area. And then one about assistance systems, the Pro Pilot Assist. They've also updated the assistance systems here with this recent update. And you can see here, the active steering is doing a smoother job than before. So that's nice. Actually quite cool. Not too many hectic corrections and so on. So keeping us in the lane right here. And also, of course, reducing the speed if a car would be a little bit slower in front of us. So that's nice. We also have a blind spot monitor, both sides. Here, these triangles there in the mirrors, they warn us also in advance when vehicles are approaching. So really gotta say, the X-Trail or the Rogue does deliver. And I mean, it's not famous for being the most spectacular vehicle, but we've seen in very detailed solutions, like felt at this plastic part in the trunk cover, 90-degree opening doors, that you think about outdoor use here with the seats, but at the same time also offer fabric seats if you want to have it more breathable. Manual climate unit, for example, assistance systems upgrade, nice leatherette material on the steering wheel, more animal-free solutions. So they thought through the different things, and you know that Nissan is struggling at the moment as a manufacturer itself. But if you look at this car here now, it does deliver in all kinds of perspectives. The only thing I would wish, just that the suspension is a little bit smoother, That's the only thing I can find here, actually. But so far, we can also drive 120 kilometers an hour here now. See about the noise here. Like this is still 100. Let's now go to, they drive a little bit quicker than, oh, yeah, I think when you have to deactivate the Pro Pilot Assist when you want to drive yourself. So the There's no smooth transition between either you drive with it or you deactivate all of these systems, because otherwise they have too much intervention. But here now, even going quicker, reasonably silent, no special wind noise and so on. So very good also for the motorway. Here now at 120 kilometers an hour. From the roof a little bit, I feel. We have the panoramic roof here. So then I would recommend to close the shade if you have that one with the optional panoramic roof. As for the fuel economy, we could score some 6 liters on 100 kilometers. So it's like 39 mpg US, 47 mpg UK. So this hybrid system does work. This is with a lot of motorway share. If you have less motorway share, you could even score better results. Yeah, very interesting car, definitely, and a fresh off-road look here for this N-Trek version. Pricing starts at around 30,000 US dollars, 38,000 British pounds, and Europe with Germany 43,000 euros entry level, and there's already the e-power engine. And if you go also for the overdrive and the top trimmable and so on, it's 56,000 euros then. Tell me what you think about the updated Nissan X-Trail, and you should maybe check out the Qashqai as well as one. And AJ also recently did a comparison, X-Trail versus Qashqai. That would be the US and Rogue versus Rogue Sport. Also interesting video.